Hey guys, so we're up to the second part of fifth grade's big project for September, and we're working on a 1 point perspective. Last time you and I identified where horizon lines and vanishing points are, and we also went through and looked at how to just create a super rough sketch to practice. So today, the first thing we're going to do as we make our final copy is we're going to decide whether you want it horizontal or vertical. Either one's fine, doesn't matter. I'm going to go horizontal just because it's easier for y'all to see on here. And then I'm going to decide where I want my horizon line. Because I'm going to be adding things down here, it's really helpful if my horizon line is at least halfway. I am actually going to put mine up fairly high. You could use a ruler, or if you had just have a straight edge of another sheet of paper, you can do that. Remember, your horizon line needs to be completely horizontal. It doesn't need to bend and wave. All right, and now I'm going to go in and add my vanishing point. So I want to show you guys how to make two different types of vanishing points. One is just the straight path that we did before. So I line it up and come down, remembering that I can go any direction and angle as long as it's not straight. And then going ever so slightly off of straight, a little bit more to the right. Okay, that's how I could create a straight path. Now let's say I wanted a path that was like a winding river. Okay, well, I still need that same basic setup. So I still need my horizon line, my vanishing point, and my two lines that are going to be the base for my path. Okay. I'm going to have it go over here. So we'll do a little bit different. Okay. Now, because I want it to wave back and forth, I need to show that waterway also getting wider the same way it does if you're on a regular path. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come small bump, bigger bump, bigger bump. Okay. Now the key for me is going to be that my other side has to run parallel. I can't pull them together like that. They have to go and travel together. One thing you can do is look at how far above the line your bumps came and try to hit the same point on the other line. So I'm going one bump. And everybody has trouble with this. This is not just you. This is something that in order for it to be right, it does take some attention to detail. Two bumps. And three bumps. All right. And I can look as I see, and it should feel a little bit flatter right here. A little bit flatter. Since I've got it on such an angle. Okay, fabulous. Now that you've got either your curved path or your straight path, we are going to start with one single object. Now, you may be going, oh, but Miss Walker, I really want to do like cactuses and trees and this. That's fine, but you need to start with one. We're going to do just a simple desert for this one. I start on my horizon line and I come in and add teeny tiny, whatever it is. So in this case, I have cactuses. Now, whatever you decide to do, they need to be teeny, teeny, tiny, like almost disappearing tiny, and they need to be on the back with your horizon line. It is best to start with whatever the biggest thing in your situation is going to be, or something that can help kind of give you an idea where the rest of them will be size-wise. All right, so I've got one level. I'm going to come down and add a second level. getting closer to the bottom of the paper, so coming closer to the foreground. And I'm also going to go, and they'll get to be a little bit bigger in this case. So my cactuses in this level are bigger. I'm going to space them out because I don't want it to look like, a stocked shelf at Walmart. I want it to feel like it's supposed to be there. And this one's going to be running off the paper. Okay, got it. Now I'm going to repeat that step. I'm going to go down one more time, and these cactuses are going to be, that's right, you got it, a little bigger. So as I come down to this level, I'm going to make them nice and large. You may be thinking like, oh, well, why? How can I check myself? How do I know that I'm right? Okay. If you line up either with your ruler or your paper, all of those things on that level should start at approximately the same place. They might be slightly different, but not a ton. I'm going to come down and do my last level. Now, depending on which direction you did, if you went vertically or horizontally with your paper, you may discover that yours has a lot more space, and that's fine. You just keep going with your levels. So I've got thing number one. I want to add a second object. I want to add some tumbleweeds. Now, if I'm looking at a tumbleweed next to a cactus, it's obviously smaller. So approximately there. So that looks about halfway as tall as a cactus. So for my one in the very back, it needs to be half as tall as a cactus. It can't be bigger than that. For the one up front, it's going to be half as tall as the cactus. My tumbleweeds are kind of scribble scrabble. All right, so we've got that part. Next up, we're going to come, and I'd like to add one more item, and that is a billboard. So in the very back, I keep in mind that a billboard would be a little bit taller than a cactus. So when I put mine on there, it needs to be small. If you were looking at something that far away on the road, you wouldn't be able to read it either. You might see some colors, but it would also be hard to read. So I shouldn't make it so big that I can write in it with no problem. All right, and then my other one is going to be really, really close. It's going to be coming in your face. It's going to have a big arrow and be in your face. Okay, so now that I've got my basic shapes, you and I have gone over how to do 3. Remember, you could do it a lot of ways. You could do trees, you could do houses, you could do boats, you could do different things. I have several examples that I'm going to put up for you guys to see that are from some of my kids from before. All right, and now I'm going to add my details. So some of these cactuses are going to have flowers on them. And I need to keep size in mind there too. We're still bound by those same rules. And I think there are going to be little lights to light up on my arrow so that it seems like a sign that would catch your attention when you were driving along the highway to nowhere. Okay. Now, if you are somebody who's desperate to do a line down the road, the same rule applies to the line down the road as it did to the road itself. It also has to vanish as it goes to the vanishing point. So I'm going to come touch and I'll find a little bit past the middle. Okay. And then I'm going to go a little bit past the middle. And I'm not going to make it super wide because it is not a super wide thing. It's, shockingly small when you really think about it. All right. Now, just like all of our cactuses or our trees or whatever you're using get smaller as they go back, so do the lines. So I start off with my lines being larger, and then I have a larger gap. You'll notice I'm drawing the top and the bottom of that rhombus parallel to the bottom of my page. You need to as well. A little bit smaller space, a little bit shorter line, a little bit smaller space, a little bit shorter line, until they start to run together. Oop, I probably should have gone in there before with my eraser so that I could see. All right, so there is my line down my road. This is one of those situations where if you have a thin and a thick Sharpie, it is super helpful because when I go to put in things like spikes on my cactuses or the line down the road, it helps for it to be with a thin Sharpie so that you've got that nice definition. I need to make sure that I'm doing whatever's in front first so that it has that same overlapping quality. And I can tell, oh, yeah, well, I put that where it needed to be and I didn't draw through it. So right now, I'm going to get my cactuses. Now, the question is, what have you guys made? I had somebody make a space station once. I've had somebody do a candy land. I've had somebody do a, let's see, what's something else? Oh, I've had someone do like a clouds. In fact, I think that's what I put on y'all's example on the information for this week. That was one of my students from last year. And she did a marvelous job. And I've really had some good things of these in the past couple years. Remember to be smooth with your Sharpie line because this is your chance to really make it nice and finished looking. And then here comes my friend the tumbleweed who's having trouble holding himself together. Okay, and then I'm going to get the road lines. Okay. And you'll notice when something was in front of it, I didn't draw through it, did I? That, my friends, is paying attention. So make sure your brain's not on holiday while you're Sharpieing. Okay, almost got what I need in terms of my middle ground and my foreground. Almost. And now I'm going to Sharpie that horizon line. Very good. Now, since the horizon line's so important, we're going to go ahead and do it with our regular Sharpie. And then we can come in and do our details with our small. Now, in just a second, you and I are going to look at how the background works. Now, background is not everything behind something in your picture. It is specifically in a landscape from the horizon line to the top of the page. So in a situation like we're in, we don't count it all as background. It's just from horizon line to the top of the page. So let's say I wanted to do some sort of mountains. I think that sounds good. Maybe there's some big cliffs in the distance. What I'm going to do is I'll get my pencil back out because obviously I want to make sure that I've got it going on. And to help emphasize this, I'm actually going to make them come up somehow along that road. All right. Mine are going to be kind of like mesa cliffs. They're going to be steep and go up and steep and go up. If you want a sun or a moon, it needs to be over the horizon line. It shouldn't be, over here in the corner or off in the distance. You need to go over the horizon line because that's where or over the vanishing point, sorry, because that's where you've centered your action. So my moon could be right there. And then I can get that with my Sharpie. If you were looking closely, you saw I almost pulled out a purple one. Silly Miss Walker. Okay. And ta-da! I'm going to add some details before we see each other next time. But next time, after you've erased, we're going to go in with crayons to get the really small nitpicky things and give it some texture. Bye.